become extraordinary? Today, we are here to discover the answer as we explore the fascinating world of tell and evaluation. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this online training session, tell and evaluation, organized by District 130. We are all excited to have you join us for a session designed to inspire creativity, strengthen storytelling skills, and enhance our ability to provide meaningful evaluations. As Toastmasters, we understand that effective communication goes beyond speaking. It involves the ability to tell compelling stories, listen actively, and provide feedback that help others grow. This evening session provides us with an opportunity to learn, share, and improve together. I encourage everyone to participate actively, take notes, and make the most of this valuable learning experience. Before we proceed, I would like to recognize and acknowledge the presence of all the leaders, especially the leaders in districts. So I will start with recognizing the Program Quality Director, District 130, Toastmaster Stella George, DTM, and the Chair Contest, District 130, Toastmaster Oludaisi Joseph, DTM. I have Toastmaster Al-Hassan Mohammed. I have other leaders. There are so many for me to call their names. So with this, I would like to start to call on our first facilitator, who is a strategy business development professional. He is an avid learner and loves teaching. His hobby includes predilection for everything novel, people and culture, past and present, ideas, lived experiences. This fantastic and amazing speaker became the Vice President to then the Vice President Education in July 2025, in September 2025, respectively. He decided to enter the evaluation speech contest after coming second at the club level. He started coaching from former evaluation district champion, Toastmaster Greg. At about that time, he also wrote a book on evaluation, which brought these two actions were the game changer. Do you all want to see this champion, the evaluation champion? I hope I'm not the only one in the meeting room. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you very much. So this particular speaker or facilitator this evening will be allotted 30 minutes for him to make presentation, and after that we'll have question and answers. So before I call on, I hope the facilitator is ready for us. Please, with all the energy in the meeting room, let's welcome Toastmaster Emeka Enwere, the speaker for today's evening on evaluation. Toastmaster Emeka, the virtual lectern is for you. If you're there, kindly be up.
Yes, I am here live and direct. Thank you, Toastmaster
Thank you.
Surya Ahmed Rufai, for that warmth of your introduction. In fact, that wasn't an introduction, it was a coronation. And I stand here drenched in your generosity. Thank you very much. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, it's a privilege and an honor to be here today to speak to you about the journey I took to become district champion early this year in Gabon. Now, we just have 30 minutes to dive deep into the art of evaluation. In 30 minutes, you're not going to become an evaluation champion. But what I'm going to do is to show you the path you need to take in order to become one. I'm going to show you the road I took so that you don't need to wonder. If you spend time in that road, definitely you are going to become a champion. Permit me to share my screen. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Still loading, still loading.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right, while it is loading, I want you to note this. The training today is focused on winning an evaluation contest. It is very different from training for evaluation at club level. They are two different things. When you're evaluating for a contest, there are certain requirements that are needed. And it's very different when you're doing a normal evaluation at the club. Now, most of us here already know how to evaluate at the club level. Now, the question is, what makes you a champion? And that is what I'm going to focus on today. Please confirm that the presentation is showing.
Yes, please. Very clear.
Okay. So by the end of this training, we are going to learn two things. Number one, how to evaluate a speech. That means the analysis part. When someone is speaking, how do you know what he's doing right, what he's doing wrong, how to evaluate a speech? Then the second thing we're going to learn, how to deliver a contest-winning evaluation. Because to become a champion in evaluation, you have to master two sets of skills. Number one, the analysis, how to evaluate. Then number two, how to deliver that evaluation. This is our agenda for today. Now you notice that number 2 and number 3 contain the meat of the presentation. Why number 1 and number 4 are just, housekeeping and then question and answer. So we start with the housekeeping. Who is an evaluator? Ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake about it. An evaluator is just a mirror, reflecting back to the speaker their untapped potential. And I want you to take note of the word mirror. Most people, when they speak, they don't know how they come across to the audience. So as an evaluator, your job is to reflect back to the speaker. This is what I noticed. This is what I saw. It's just like you dressing up and you don't know how it fits until you look at the mirror. Then you can judge, oh, this fits perfectly. That is the exact job of an evaluator. You are not there to pass judgment. You are not a judge. You are not an expert. You are just giving back how you experienced the speech. Shikena. Like I said initially, you need to master two roles: how to evaluate effectively, and number two, how to deliver the evaluation powerfully. Because the evaluation itself is a speech about a speech. So you're also giving a speech. So you need to learn how to deliver that speech in order to win the contest. Now, before you take a job, the first thing you look for is the job description. Before you take part in an examination, you need to know how your papers will be marked. Also, before you take part in a contest, you need to know how the contest will be evaluated. That is why you must start with the judging criteria. What makes you a champion? How will you be judged? How will you be evaluated? It's very important, because once you understand the criteria for success, then it guides every other thing you do. Now, the first thing the judges look out for is the analytical quality, and it carries 40 marks. That is the highest score any component gets. And look at the quality they're looking for. They say you should identify the specific strengths and specific weakness. That is pointing to the speech elements that the speaker has deployed. They want you to first label it. So if the person had good audience engagement, the judges expect you to come out and say, your audience engagement was fantastic. Name the quality first before you explain it, correct? So when you're explaining it, they want you to be clear, focused, and logical. Some people, when they are explaining why the quality matters or how it impacted the speech, they ramble, they go in winding ways, and it confuses people. Your explanation must be clear and focused. That is why you need a delivery format. Once you have a delivery format, it gives you the structure for explaining the speech elements you have identified, whether as a strength or a weakness. Is that okay? So first you have to label the quality, and then you explain why that quality is important or it impacted the speech. The next judging criteria is the recommendation, and it carries the next highest mark, 30 marks. Now, in an evaluation, recommendation is the meat of the evaluation. Why? Because in the recommendation, you have the weakness, and you also have the improvements. So the recommendation carries two things. First, you identify the weakness, and then you provide solution for improving on that weakness. That is why the recommendation is very, very powerful, right? Now, you don't give a recommendation if you don't know how the speaker can improve on that weakness you've identified. Now, your delivery format will also tell you how to give effective recommendation. Notice under tactic, I've picked out delivery format twice now. Now, later on in the presentation, I'll tell you what the winning delivery format is, the one I used to win the contest. What is the next criteria? Technique. Now, technique carries 15 marks, and it speaks to the language you use in delivering your evaluation. Now, the language must be very, very cautious because it has to speak to the emotion of the speaker and also address the growth need of the speaker. Now, you are trying to get someone to improve, but that person, the person you're talking to is a human being, he has emotions. So you have to massage the emotion while telling the person how to improve. It's a delicate balance, right? Not offending the person at the same time, telling them what they need to do to improve is a technique you have to master, right? So using the right technique has to appear in how you give commendation and how you give recommendation. And that is captured in the language. So we are going to learn the language of evaluation under tactic. Finally, summation. Summation is the free point for any evaluator in a contest. If you can't get any of the other judging criteria, you must not miss the summation because the summation is free. You don't need to do any work. You just list all your commendation and recommendation, shikena, and you get 15 points. So if you can't do any other thing, don't miss out the summation, okay? Now, this is the judging criteria, ladies and gentlemen. 4 categories. The most important is the analytical depth. And for you to know, to be good at analytical depth, you have to understand the speech elements. What are the elements of effective speaking? And that is the meat of this whole presentation. Now, before we go forward, as an evaluator, you have to have the right mindset. The mindset is the lens through which you look at the speaker. If you don't have the right mindset, it will show up in your language. If you don't have the right mindset, it will show how you treat the speaker. You have to start with the right mindset. And what are the elements of that right mindset? Number 1, evaluation is feedback, not advice. This is the first thing you learn when you're doing the evaluation segment of your pathways. Evaluation is feedback. You are just giving information. It's not advice. You are not judging. Okay? You are just a mirror. You are reflecting to the speaker. This is what I saw. This is what I heard. This is what I felt, without judgment. So if the person's hand is shaking, you don't come and say, oh, you were not confident. No, I will say, I saw your hands were vibrating. Watch out. That's the only thing you can say because that's what you saw. The hands might be vibrating because the person has a medical condition. You don't have that data. You can't say the person was not confident. Just say your hands were vibrating. That's what I saw. Watch it. That's all. That's information. You're giving feedback. You're not passing judgments. Evaluate the speaker, the speech, not the speaker. Now, some people in your club, you know them as very fantastic speakers. So if you're called to evaluate this person, you carry that baggage to say, oh, this person is the best speaker in my club, and that colors your evaluation. No. Whenever you're doing an evaluation, focus on the speech the person delivered that day, not on the person. Your focus should be on the speech, not the person. Focus on growth, not fault. This is very important and is central to the mindset of an evaluator. When someone is speaking, your job is not to pick out the fault. No. You are asking yourself, how can this speaker improve? What is this speaker missing out? What would take this speech to the next level? Those are the questions you're asking. You are not asking, what has this person done wrong? No, 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 no. You are looking for ways that speech can be improved. So you focus on growth, not faults. The essence of evaluation is not to address the speaker alone, but to elevate the entire room. Most people forget that. When you are in a contest, you have the test speaker, you have the audience, and most importantly, you have the judges. So you are speaking to 3 stakeholders, not the speaker alone. You have to remember that. So when you are delivering your evaluation, you have to address the speaker and then move to the other stakeholders. If you're only focusing on the speaker, it's going to affect your mark. Give actionable feedback. Your feedback must be specific, and the speaker must be able to implement it in his or her next speech. Don't speak generally. You have to speak based on what the speaker has said. Pick examples from the speech to buttress your point. There is nothing like a perfect speech. There is always something to improve. Note that. Very important. So this, if you have these 6 components, then you have the mindset of an evaluator. But for me, the most important one is number 1 and number 3. Feedback, not advice. Focus on growth, not on fault. Timing. This is very critical. You have 3 minutes to evaluate and then 30-second grace period to round off. Now, when you are practicing for an evaluation contest, only practice with 3 minutes. Don't practice with 3 minutes, 30 seconds. No, practice with 3 minutes. Now, the problem with the timing system is nobody tells you when you've done 1 minute, when you've done 1 minute, 30 seconds. The first thing that comes up is when you hit 2 minutes. And that's where the challenge is, right? So what I've displayed here is the ideal situation. By the time you've seen the green card, you should be rounding off your recommendation. By the time you see the yellow card, you should be concluding your evaluation. And then anything that happens is just spillover. But then you won't always experience this ideal situation. So the green card is the moment of decision. So if you see the green card and you are just in your first recommendation and you have 2 recommendations you want to give, what do? Cancel the second recommendation and move straight to your summation. The green card is the decision point. If you see the green card and you are still giving your recommendation, what do? You hurry up your commendation. Sorry, if you see the green card and you are still giving commendation, hurry up and wrap up that commendation. Give only 1 recommendation and jump straight to your summary. So you see, it's at the green card that you take the critical decision. That is why you need to be flexible, okay? I will show you how to arrange your commendation and recommendation so that if you have to make a decision, you give your most important recommendation first, you give your most important commendation first, okay? How do you prepare? Now, as an evaluator, you need 4 essential skills: active listening, observational skills, note-taking skills, and delivery skills. Now, but the problem here is the first 3 happens at the same time. So when the test speaker is speaking, you are listening, you are observing, and you are writing. You are doing 3 things at the same time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not something you study, you have to practice. If you don't practice it, you won't get used to it. It's not something you listen to someone explain to you how to evaluate. You have to go through that process of listening to evaluations, observing and writing. You have to do it like 20 times so that you master that process of executing these 3 skills at the same time. Imagine listening with your ears, observing with your eyes, and also taking notes. The brain has to coordinate 3 senses at the same time. It's not easy. The delivery comes afterwards. Okay, after the test speaker has finished, then you are called up to give your evaluation. So that is more manageable. So how do you prepare? For the first 3, first of all, you have to understand speech elements. What are the elements of effective speaking? You have to have knowledge of public speaking. So you have to go back to the first principles, and we are coming to it later. You have to evaluate the speeches of all the world champions of public speaking, and they are available online. Go to YouTube. You see all the world champions of public speaking right from when Toastmasters started running that competition. Why is this important? Because all the test speakers in a contest, they go to the world champions of public speaking to learn how to give a perfect speech. That's where they learn. So you too, you have to go there to learn how to evaluate, right? Okay. Then the next thing you have to do is you have to participate in online evaluation contests. So many clubs across the world, they upload their evaluation contests on the internet. What that means is they show you the test speaker speech, and then they show you all the evaluators that evaluated the test speaker. So what I normally do is I listen to the test speaker, I write down my own evaluation, and then I watch the evaluation of the other people and compare it with mine. You have to do that several times to see how you compare to the global standard, right? A number of clubs in the US, in Canada, they always upload all their evaluation contests. So you see a lot of them. It helps your practice process. Okay. Then finally, listen to former evaluation district champions. Verity Price, who won the World Championship of Public Speaking in 2021. She's South African. She was also a district champion in evaluation. Listen to her evaluations online. Carl Montag, he has a lot of videos on evaluation. He's very good. And also the guy from Malaysia, Mas Mahathir, he has a lot of content on evaluation. These are the 3 people I recommend you listen to their videos on how to become effective at evaluating. For delivery skills, you have to practice delivery in front of the mirror. So after evaluating the speech of the world champions of public speaking, you write down your evaluation, then stand in front of the mirror, have a timer, and deliver your evaluation. You have to do that over and over again to master the art of delivery. Okay? This is how you prepare. I'm sorry if I'm disappointing you. There's no shortcuts. If you are expecting to get a template for doing this, there is no templates. What I'm showing you is just the path you need to take. You have to put in the hard work in order to become a champion. Ground rules. The first thing you have to do when you get into the competition, what do? Note where the test speaker is sitting. After he gives his speech, he goes and sits somewhere. You need to note where he's seated, because when you come to give your evaluation, you'll be addressing his test speaker. And it will be embarrassing when you go there and you're looking, oh, where, Mr. Olu Jacob, where are you? So first, before you go up the stage, know where the test speaker is sitting. Also know where the timer is sitting so that you can watch for the cards coming up. Very important. I've said this, evaluation is also a speech. So physician, heal thyself. So those things you pointed out in the test speaker, make sure you are also doing it when you give your evaluation, okay? Remember to smile. You want to influence the judges, smile. If you go there with a stone face, the judges will be, maybe they want to give you 35. They see your face, they reduce it to 10. Smile and encourage the judges. Very important. That's the least you can do. Increase your odds of success by scripting everything. Everything that can be scripted, script it so that you are leaving nothing to chance. Your opening statement, you should already know it before you go to the stage. Your closing statement, you should know it already. Your transitions, you should know them. You are not guessing. The only thing you cannot script is the commendation and the recommendation, because that will come from the test speaker. But every other thing that can be scripted, script it so that you are leaving nothing to chance. That's the way you increase your odds of success. Hope this is being You're taking note of this. It's very important. Number 1 and number 4, very important. Now, to the meat of the matter. How do you evaluate a speech? Number 1, you can't effectively evaluate what you don't understand. How can you evaluate when you don't know the standard for good speaking? How can you evaluate when you don't know the benchmark? What's the benchmark for effective speaking? If you don't know the benchmark, there's nothing you are evaluating. So that is where you start from, understanding the benchmark for a perfect speech. Once you know that, then your eyes open, you begin to see more, you begin to hear more, you begin to notice things that people do wrong because you know the benchmark. It's just like when I was in school, I did technical drawing. At a point, you don't know how to see in the third dimension. You see a 3D building. How do you reduce it to a paper drawing? It's very difficult, but after you've been trained, you start seeing things in 3 dimensions. When they give you a paper drawing of a building, you can transform it into a 3D model. Yeah, that's the same thing that understanding the speech element does. Once you understand the elements of effective speaking, once someone is speaking, you start noticing things automatically. That is where the magic happens. So it's very important you have the knowledge of the elements, okay? The more you know these elements, the more you see, the more you understand, the more you evaluate. If you are taking nothing out of this presentation, you have to take this out. Where you start from is knowing the speech elements, what I also call speech parameters. What are these parameters? Now, I've divided them into segments according to how a speech flows. Now, most people, when they come to speak, they start with an opening and they end with a closing, right? Now, what should a speaker be doing at the opening? What should the speaker be doing at the closing? Now, after the opening, some people start with, in 1995. Once you hear, yeah, it means the person is about to set the scene. He's about to tell a story. That's number 2, setting the scene. 5 years ago, when I was walking, it means the person has started telling a story. That's setting the scene. And then 3, the middle is the middle of the speech itself. The moment is the spectacular things that happen during the speech. Maybe the speaker makes the audience laugh or does something unusual, brings a prop. That is the moment. The reveal is where the speaker comes with a message. Now you've told us all this long story. Why are you telling us the story? What is the reason? What is the essence behind the story? That's the reveal. When the person tells you the takeaway message, isn't it? Then the closing statements. That's usually where you have the call to action. Now, what should happen at the opening? What is the hook the speaker has used? Some people start with a rhetorical question. Some people start with the reverse hook. The reverse hook is when somebody starts telling the story from the end. I stood at the edge of the bridge, staring at the water, about to jump. I wanted to end my life. Someone can start a story like that. So they start from the end, and then they now start rolling back to tell you how they got to that end point. That is the reverse hook. Some people start that way. So you have to know what a reverse hook is. In medias res is a speech element, okay? It's Latin for in the middle of things. It means when the speaker starts in the center of the action, in the middle of the story, just like you see the James Bond movies. When they start a James Bond movie, they start in the center of the action and then they roll the story back. So that's in medias res. So if a speaker starts and throws you in the middle of the chaos, the crisis moment, that format is called in medias res. Okay, so you should know that also. The stakes. This is the mistake that most speakers make. They tell you the goal, the primary objective of their speech, but they don't tell you the consequence of failing. You have to establish the stakes. If you give the goal, you have to also state the consequence of not meeting that goal. How does it affect you? How does it affect your loved ones, your parents, your children? That way, you transform the journey from an option to an absolute necessity. So when a speaker properly establishes the stake, he creates a sense of urgency. He lets the audience understand why this mission, why this journey matters. So it's something you have to look out for. If a speaker comes and just states the objective of the speech, and does not tell you what the consequences will be if he failed. If I don't get this job, I won't be able to take my children to secondary school. I won't be able to take care of my parents. That way the audience will start rooting for the speaker, that this must happen. The next thing that should happen at the opening is the message delay. Very important. One of the qualities of a good speaker is the ability to hold back information and create curiosity. It's called engineering interest. When you hold back information, you create intrigue, you create interest, right? Some speakers will come and say, today, I will talk about resilience. That is a wrong way to start. Rather, you come and say, I failed publicly, and I thought it was going to be the end of my career. Imagine you start a speech like that. Already the audience is thinking, oh, how did you fail? What happened? Okay, that is message delay. So you start with the problem. You start with the peripheral statement before you state the point. That is message delay. Okay, that is something you have to note at the opening of the speech. Now, all these things I've identified at the opening as speech elements. These are the things you look out for when at the opening of a speech. I will take questions at the end. Okay, setting of the scene. This is when someone now starts saying 5 years ago or in 1995, it means the story has started. Now, when telling a story, people have to use specific language. Okay, so you look out for specificity. What that means is the brain ignores a nice car and focuses on a 1978 red sedan with a torn leather seat. You see how specific I was? You are already seeing the car by that description. Instead of saying a nice car, I said a red Mercedes sedan with a torn leather seat. You already see the car. That is specificity, okay? Same thing as vivid language. Also, the speaker should render the experience, okay? Rather than tell you that Emeka was brave. Speakers that use adjective, they are not very good. Instead of saying Emeka was brave, say Emeka went into the lion's den, wagged his tail, and jumped out. So you describe what happened rather than label the experience. That's rendering the experience, okay? Characterize the dialogue. When two people are speaking, you have to take the personalities of each person rather than narrating what the person did. In the middle of your speech, that is where you deepen the struggle, conflict escalation. What that means is when you are talking about the struggle, you slow down and you provide details about the challenges, because it's the challenge that makes people be emotional about the speech. That is what makes the audience engaged, okay? You have to provide contrast. When you're telling a sad story, you have to inject humor. Humor is like a speed bump. It helps to break the emotion, okay? There has to be contrast in your speech. If someone is high intensity, at some point you have to go low, okay? That's emotional variety contrast. Vulnerability. When you're telling a sad story, it has to show in your manner, in your tone, in your facial expression. The moments, audience engagement. When someone tells a joke and people are laughing, you find out that they continue speaking. That error is called stepping on the laugh. So you can step on the laugh, you can step on the question. You ask a question, you don't pause to allow people to think about it. You are stepping on the question. You say something very, very intriguing and the audience starts clapping. Instead of allowing them to clap, you start talking, you are stepping on the applause. So that's something you have to look out for. Stepping on the laugh, stepping on the question, stepping on the applause, okay? How to heal that is to pause. When you see the audience reacting, pause and honor their reaction before you continue, okay? The reveal, this is where you're telling the people the essence of your story. What's the message behind your story, okay? So your central message has to be clear. Now, you can go a step further by having a foundational phrase. A foundational phrase is a catchphrase for your central message that you repeat several times during your speech, okay? Like, what's the name of the world champion of public speaking? I see something in you. I don't know what it is. He repeated it several times during his speech. That's the foundational phrase, okay? And then finish the sentence. He's also building on the foundational phrase. So when you've repeated something several times during your speech, when you want to conclude, you just start it and allow the audience to complete. So you say, I see something in you, and the audience will complete it. That's finish the sentence. It shows that the audience has been following. That's a technique that people use. Most people don't do this, so it's a good point for recommendation. If somebody has a clear central message, use the foundational phrase. You can say, to take this speech to the next level. Also use finish a sentence, okay? Closing. Did the person end by summarizing what is said? Did the person end by giving you a takeaway message? Some people give a takeaway message and they don't give a call to action. There are two different things. Takeaway message is the message behind the story. Call to action, what is the next step the audience can take after they leave the meeting? The secular bookend it means when you open a story, when you open your speech with something, you refer back to that thing at the end of your speech. So for example, when I was starting the opening, I said, I stood at the edge of the bridge looking at the water. I wanted to commit suicide. At the end of your speech, you can go back to that opening scene and said, I stood on the bridge that day, but I remembered the love of my mom and the love of my children, and I decided to walk back. That's the secular book, and it means you are bringing the story full circle, and it gives a sense of resolution, okay? The visual bookend means if you start speaking at a particular position and you start rambling around the stage, when you want to end your speech, go back to where you started. That way, it shows the audience that you've come to a close, okay? And you can also end with a quote. So these are some of the speech elements. Now, during my course of preparing for the championship, I identified 37 speech elements. I've just given a few here. Now, for each of these speech elements, you have to understand what they are, how to give recommendation for each, how to give commendation for each, okay? This is where the work lies. There are so many other things to discuss, but my time is up, so I'll wait to take questions. Back to you, Madam Facilitator.
Thank you very much, our district champion. Well done. You did justice to that. That for me was the right mindset. For us, we have the right mindset. That is why we are here. So this brings us to the segment of question and answers. So let's appreciate our facilitator this evening. I can see emojis flying everywhere. Well done. So now, if you have any question for our facilitator, let's use the emoji if you have question. Okay, so Toastmaster Benedine, please make your question simple and concise. So you have the floor.
Okay. Thank you so much, dear facilitator, and what an amazing presentation. Can you just give us an idea of how long you took to prepare for the evaluation contest? How long do you recommend someone should practice for? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good question. But I want to turn that question around. It's not a question of how long, but how intense. So because after winning at the area level, I now noticed I had a chance to go all the way to the district. So and I had just about 5 weeks because I had a short time to prepare. So what I did is after work, I dedicated 4 hours every evening after work to practice evaluation for 5 weeks. 4 hours every evening, Monday to Sunday. That's the level of intensity. For example, one speech element, I can take like 3 days to study just one speech element. Like I said, for each speech element, you need to know how to give the commendation. You also need to know how to give the recommendation. Okay, so that's the level of detail. If you don't do this, it will be a game of chance. Because of the level of preparation, I knew whatever speech that comes up, I know how to evaluate. That's the level of detail you need to go into. It's called learning from first principles. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Were you practicing by yourself or you had some coaches?
Yes, the former district champion of evaluation, Toastmaster Craig Esowode, was my coach. So he coached me. So from time to time, I referred back to him, asked him questions, and I send him my clips to evaluate. You need a coach, very important.
Thank you very much. So now next is the Zoom user. I can identify the person. So if you can unmute and let's hear your question. Zoom user.
Yes, good evening. My name is Farida Farouk. I'm Toastmaster Farida Farouk. You've made mention of 36 elements of speech that you know, and you've given us some few. How do we know the rest? Is there any help? Is there any way we can get the rest?
Yes. So
thank you very much.
The problem is you can't find it anywhere on the internet, so you have to pick it from different sources. So what I've decided to do, I don't want to write a book, but I'm writing articles. I think I've written up to 10, but I've not started publishing. But if you chat me privately, I'll see what I can do.
Okay, thank you. From the chat box, there's a question from Rafatu. She said, if a Toastmaster is trying to engage the audience and they are not reacting, should the Toastmaster keep speaking or still wait for the audience to react?
Okay, that's a very good question. So sometimes
Toastmaster Emeka.
Yes, I heard it very perfectly. So you do something intentionally for the audience to react and they don't react. So what I would suggest is you repeat that action and turn it into a joke. This is the point where you respond, or this is the point where you clap, or this is the point where you smile. So if you turn it into a joke, you actually get the response you want. Okay, so don't back out. If you expected people to answer you, you say, this is the point where you respond. Or you don't like me, am I not properly dressed? Turn it into a joke and you get an actual response. But if you try that and it doesn't work, please move on.
Okay, thank you. So there's another one in the chat box. It says from Toastmaster Dozie. He said, what techniques did you use to control nervousness before taking the stage?
That is a very perfect question. Now, I've read several books, and what they say, all of them, is preparation is a cure for nervousness. Yeah, if you prepare to the point that there's nothing to prepare, nervousness will run out of the door. And one way you prepare is to go to the stage where you're going to perform. Look at the stage, have a feel of the stage. How do you ascend the stage? How you descend the stage? What space do you have to roam around? Then know your content inside out. When I did my contest in Gabon, I decided to arrive a day earlier than the other contingent because I wanted to go to the venue, understand how the setting is, get used to the space, right? That's the level of preparation. If you prepare so well, you won't be nervous. That's the only solution for nervousness.
Okay, so next we have distinguished Toastmaster Paul Abbey. So after that, we will have another question from the chat box. Then we call it a day for the evaluation training session. Thank you. Toastmaster Paul.
Well done. Now I know why you ran to Gabon early enough. Thank you for
my leader.
Well done.
Now we know.
Now we know. Now you talked about the evaluation being a mirror. And obviously, the judges have their different mirrors. Agree that this aerobics will catch some, and some probably will not fall for it. So would we say that this standardization are universal any day, any time, as it were? Or because most evaluators too have their own uniqueness. Somebody might not be able to get all of this, but they can be able to pull through, and that would probably be accepted by the judges. So just like there are no better speeches, could it be that there are no better evaluators other than the judges doing their bits? Thank you.
DT and Paul, you've hit on a very, very delicate matter, and that's the question of judges. Is always a concern. Yeah, so there's always that concern of judges, right? And they can be biased and they can be wrong as well. So you can't rule that out. So for example, when I won at the division level, I actually thought I would come second because the guy that came second spoke very well. And I was opportune to hear his evaluation because I was the fourth person to speak. He was the last. So when I asked the people in the room, why did I come first? They said, your analysis was very clear. You went straight to the point. Yeah, it was very logical. So it was easy to follow. Yes, that guy spoke very well, but there was a lot of rambling, which is why I said you have to have a delivery format, a format for delivering your commendation and recommendation. And let me just give you the format for commendation. When you want to give a commendation, you first say the what. What is the elements you picked out that is very good? Yeah. How did the person use it in the speech? So what, how, and then you end with a why. Why is that element effective? For example, I give you, Toastmaster Emeka, I was enthralled by your use of a rhetorical question. When you ask, when was the last time you spoke to your mother? I was engaged immediately. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, this is the why now. When you ask questions, you recruit the internal dialogue of the audience and you turn them from passive listeners to active participants. So you see, you pick the element first, the what, you mention how the person used it in a speech, and then you tell the audience why using questions is important. So that's the format you use. So if you use what, how, and why in all your commendation, you'll be very coordinated and straightforward, okay? So that's one way to win the judges.
Thank you so much.
So thank you very much. Please, let's appreciate Toastmaster Emeka. He did amazing. Thank you for sharing this valuable lessons. This is indeed very important to everyone. Thank you. So
thank you very much.
Next, thank you. Next, this evening, our facilitators will not only guide us, they will take us through practical approaches, techniques, and ideas that will help us become more confident storytellers. Our next facilitator is the founder of Daughters Family Plus Initiative, DAFPI, a non-government organization that aims to promote positive marital and family values using media and entertainment. This facilitator works her up with beans and dodo anytime. Beans and dodo. The facilitator's favorite quote: do unto others what you want them to do unto you. Who is excited to meet our next facilitator who will take us around the fascinating world of Total? Thank you. Please, with all the energy in the room, let's welcome Toastmaster Dr. Jack. Toastmaster Dr. Jack, you have 30 minutes for your presentation, and we have 10 minutes for question and answers after your presentation. Please, you have the virtual lecture map.
Thank you so much, moderator. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, distinguished Toastmasters. Good evening, Toastmasters, and if we have guests here, good evening. I'd want to say I'm delighted to be here and also truly thank the contest chair 2026-2027 for giving me the privilege to speak on Tall Tales, one of the contests that Toastmasters have designed for us for our growth as Toastmasters. Can you hear me, please? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Loud and
Yes,
clear.
we
Go ahead.
can. Loud and clear.
Okay, so having said that, I would like to start this from the middle by saying that there's a king of all contests. I would like to ask a question if any one of us knows the king of contests. Do we know the king of contests? Anyone with an idea of who the king of contests is?
The chief judge.
Anyone?
The lion.
Okay.
Chief judge.
It's the clock. The clock is the king. The clock is the king of contests. Because the clock tells the time. And in Tall Tales, we have 5 minutes to deliver the speech. And 3 minutes is minimum, 5 minutes is maximum. If a speaker speaks for 2 minutes, 30 seconds, you will be disqualified. If you speak for 5 minutes, a second, you will be disqualified. So you don't have to even get to 5 minutes, 30 seconds. No grace period for Tall Tale. Let's note that. 5 minutes maximum, 3 minutes minimum for Tall Tales. Now we have the timing cards that we all know of as Toastmasters. For timing of Tall Tales, 3 minutes, you see the green card. 4 minutes, you'll see the amber card. And 5 minutes, you will see the red card. And the red card stays until the speaker is done. Having said that, let me go to why we have Tall Tales in Toastmasters. It's simple. Toastmasters is all about our growth. And so this particular contest is also to enable us grow as Toastmasters. And so the purpose is for us to continue to hone and develop our skills in storytelling, creativity, humor, vocal variety, stage presence, audience engagements, and of course, confidence. I'll go over the purpose again. It is to help us to continue to hone and develop our skills in storytelling, creativity, humor, vocal variety, stage presence, audience engagement, and confidence. Having said the purpose of Tall Tale, what is Tall Tales, or what is a tall tale? Can anyone share with us what they know about a tall tale? Is anyone going to share with us?
I am 20 feet tall and I crawl on my legs. I fly every night with Okada.
So what have you just done now? What have you done?
Exaggerated
An
story.
exaggerated story. Thank you. An exaggerated story. Tall Tale is an exaggerated story. Tall Tale is fiction and true life story. True life story. Would we have a Tall Tale that is true life story?
It's possible.
Is it possible to have a Tall Tale that is true life story?
I don't think so.
Is it possible?
A combination of the two.
Tall Tale.
It's possible.
The combination of the two. I'm not sure it's possible for us to have a true life story, because your true life story has to be exaggerated. And once your true life story is exaggerated, then it's no longer a true life story. It means you have added salt and pepper to it, like we say in our local parlance. So having a true life story in Tall Tale is not very feasible. But you can have the true life story, but you have to tweak it for it to pass as Tall Tale. Okay, so in essence, we're saying a Tall Tale is a highly exaggerated story. It's clearly fictional, but it's told like it's real life. That's why someone might think it is true, because it's told like it is true, but it is not true. It's not real. And then the end goal of a Tall Tale is to entertain. That's why you will have all of the exaggeration going on in your story. It's for entertainment. And so anyone aiming to speak during the Tall Tale contest is that you're getting prepared to come tell stories that are fictional, stories that are exaggerated, and stories that will entertain your audience. For instance, saying, meeting a talking lion that gave you or someone else career advice. That's fictional. I could have even said, maybe in my introduction here, I could have said, Toastmasters and guests, I just walked from Lagos to this place in 30 minutes just because I want to come and deliver this training. That's exaggerated, because I cannot walk from Lagos to Abuja in 30 minutes. Or say that you're catching a fish that's bigger than a bus. So that's what Tall Tale is made of. It's made of exaggeration. Now, do you have to tell your story and make it your own, as in having an original story? Toastmasters advises that whenever we design our stories or we create our stories, we try as much as possible to make the stories original. Now, does that mean that we cannot borrow from somewhere? We can borrow from any source, because as they say, there's nothing new under the earth. Everybody wants someone, but not for 30 seconds. Not for 30. Sorry, somebody just posted that when Buhari wants someone from Lagos to Abuja, but not in 30 seconds. That took, I think, days for the person to do that. Okay. So moving on, sorry. So we're encouraged to always prepare stories that are original. But as I said, that there's nothing that is new. So your story cannot be original in a way that you will not have any elements from somewhere else in your story. It may be impossible, but you can make the story your own. So it's expected that when you're giving your Tall Tale speech, it is your speech. You have made it original. You have tweaked as many stories as you can into one to make it your own, so that when the audience hears you, they are convinced that this is your story. Now, because it's story, it has to have a structure. Every story we know as Toastmasters would have a structure. A beginning, a middle, and an end. An end, most times, is the resolution. The middle, most times, is the climax. And of course, the beginning is the introduction. And in Tall Tales, you can begin normal by saying, like, my script that I used in 2018, that was when I did Tall Tale. I started by saying it all began when I had an encounter with Dandilolo. Now, the setting was in a village. and it began, that's normal, because when you're telling somebody something, you can say, this began at so time. That's very normal. But by the time we get into the story proper, you will see the exaggeration and the intrigues that makes a tall tale revealing in that script. But we will come to it. Now, because you have a structure, having a structure would mean that as you're starting, you will start with a hook, something that will attract the audience. Sometimes it's normal, like we have here, it all began when I had an encounter with Dandilolo. That is quite normal. But someone might come talk about, I saw a 12 feet tall lion looking at me in a funny manner or laughing hysterically at me. Someone might come, start like that. And if you say that, of course, somebody will be hooked as, but what is this person going to say? But after saying that, after saying such lines is when you begin to introduce the illogical elements, those exaggerated elements. So you go on from the illogical to something that is not so possible. And you're doing it in a very smooth way that will keep your audience engaged. Now, there's this idea that tall tale is something that will make people laugh. And so you're coming, embellishing your speech with words or language that would make people laugh. You know, so you're coming to say, I want to make people laugh. And your words, what you're saying, everything is coming to make people laugh. Tall tale is not to make people laugh. Why? What makes people laugh in telling tall tales is that those exaggerated elements that you're adding to it. You're not deliberately making people to laugh. Delivering a tall tale, you will just keep a straight face, but what you are saying is what is making the audience to laugh. So don't come with a heart that I want to make my audience laugh because I want to tell tall tales. No. You don't have to come armed with humor. There's humor in it, but you don't come armed with the humor to tell. You come armed with exaggeration, with words that describe the exaggeration, with words, lofty words. I want us to know that. And then when you're practicing these words, try as much as you can to multiply like sizes by 100, numbers by 100. So let's say a walk that one would do for maybe 100 meters. You can come say times 100 of 100 would be millions. I'm not a mathematician, but times 100 would be, what number now, please? Anybody that can calculate that for us? 100 times 100 would be, can someone calculate that for us, please?
1,000.
1,000. So instead of saying I went 10,000, right? 10,000. So instead of saying I went 100 miles to say from, let's say from Berger to Zone 5, Novare Mall is 100 miles. We'll say 10,000 miles from Berger to Novare Mall. That's exaggerated. Anybody that hears that would naturally would giggle or like look at it, like this is unbelievable. And that's what elicits the laughter. So you are not on your own trying to make your audience to laugh. And that's why you have to be serious when you are delivering your tall tale. Remember, you have exaggeration as your license when delivering tall tales. Now, how do you deliver this speech that you have put together? This is where the trick comes. This is like they say in one group that I belong, that it is where the indeed is. How you deliver, because that is when somebody will see the different modes and different ways that you are saying what you are saying and convincing the audience. For instance, you cannot stand straight when you tell us there's a giant before you. We should see a posture of a giant before you. Or you say that a rat is squeaking. You can't just say rat squeaking. There's a way the rat does that. So we will hear it from your voice. So it's like creating pictures and making sounds humanly for you to convince your audience. So the sea roars. You can't say the sea roared. How would the sea roar? You hear and the sea roared. You will hear that. And when somebody is listening to you, the person knows, okay, this person is talking about a sea that is roaring, or that the rat is quaking. You hear it in your voice. So the rat was talking to his sister, and he was we hear that in your voice. So I wrote down here that the win in Tall Tale is in the exaggeration. Multiplying by 100 times always. Apart from vocal variety and your body language, there is need also to use pauses, especially after you've dropped a major exaggeration. You have to pause. So let me go on to part of the script that I used in that year. This Dandilolo I mentioned, 12 years old, but she stands tall at 12 feet, and she weighs enough to make the village bridges to negotiate before she crosses the bridge. Her mother that had her was very lean, and when she conceived Dandilolo, her stomach was still normal. For a child of 12 feet tall and massive, one would have expected that her mother's belly would have been as large as a football pitch. But nobody saw that when Dandilolo was conceived. And then, the first time Dandilolo stepped out of their apartment, I'm using the word apartment now, there was an earthquake. Houses shook like trees blown by strong wind. People scampered out of their houses to look for safety, at the same time wondering what was happening. But lo and behold, it was Dandilolo making her first appearance in Okepi, our small community. Now, all of these make the story look like it is real, it is happening in a place But we can't have a 12 feet massive human being in our community right now. That is highly exaggerated. And then that somebody stepped out and we hear something like an earthquake and everywhere is shaking because a 12-year-old is coming out. That is highly exaggerated. Now, when I delivered this speech, I had a walking stick and I was limping. I limped when I did this speech. I was limping. Somebody actually thought I had a bad leg because of the way I limped. I'm speaking about being real with what you're saying at this point. You have to convince the audience. So, I used a walking stick, as I said, and then I ensured that I created the picture that Dandilolo was huge while I was small. These are the ways that we can bring tall tale stories alive. Now, the question would be, can we use props? Yes, we can use props. We can use props, as I said, walking stick. We can use wedding gowns. We can use fake money, plastics, and all of that. We can use as many props as we want. But if you're coming with a prop that will have to be stationary, you have to inform the contest chair that you have a prop that you want to use so that the place will be prepared and you will have your prop there. Now, can you mention another contestant during your speech? You can't do that. You can't mention another contestant in your speech. And you can repeat your speech. For instance, you can do your speech in your club, repeat it in the area, and if you have a way to tweak it for the next contest, which would have been division, because tall tale ends at the division, not district. Tall tale ends at the division. So you have the area contest, so you have your club contest, you have the area, and then you have division, just like some other contests in Toastmasters. So what would judges look out for in this kind of contest? Is speech development, the effectiveness of your speech, your delivery, which I've mentioned about using vocal variety, about ensuring that you show picture. In doing tall tale, let me add this. You show, not tell. Show, not tell. Show, not tell. So, note that. So, I'll go back to what the judges look out for. Speech development, effectiveness, delivery, and then language. Language is your good use of English, is how you construct your English, how you introduce speech elements. Now, there's something that I did that I believe made this speech outstanding. I ensured that I didn't use regular words. So, for instance, this word, gobsmacked, it was when I wrote this speech, I knew the word gobsmacked. This like years ago. And gobsmacked means surprise. So these words will help to present your speech. For instance, here, instead of using the word to kill, I have here jabbing to death, because what I was saying, wanted to jab Dandilolo to death, pluck out her eyes and jab her to death. So use of words. If you have, like we know the word run, we have the word run. Instead of using the word run, maybe you look for synonyms that will present that word in a more dramatic manner. For instance, I had here that people scampered out of their houses, would have said run out of their house and all that. So it's also about trying as much as you can to use words that describe more than they tell. So you show and not tell. And then last of what the judges will look out for is the overall impact. So all that you have put together, how has it impacted your audience? There are some of us, after our speeches, you will find that the audience will be clapping, and then the next person coming in will be like, what happened in there? That's an impact. So be able to tell the story that will make your audience so engrossed, immersed in your journey, that the judges too will also feel it, and of course will give you your scores. Now, I want to say this as my last line. I don't know how many minutes have been spent. Who's timing, please?
27 minutes, 36 seconds.
Okay, so I would give my last line then. I wanted to read the whole of the speech, but I think I have pointed out some salient points in it that I believe would help us. And so I want to leave with this last line, that remember, your mission isn't merely to tell a funny story. It is to immerse your audience in an impossible world and make them savor every moment of the journey. And lastly, I would advise that you consult the current speech contest to get more of the contest rules. Thank you. Over to you, the moderator.
Thank you very much, our valuable facilitator. Please, let's appreciate Toastmaster Dr. Jack. Well done. We are grateful. So this brings us to the segment of question and answers. So we have 10 minutes for question and answers. So if you have questions for Toastmaster Dr. Jack on Tall Tale speech, kindly raise up your hand or write on the chat box. No question? It seems you've explained everything to us. We really understood. Okay, there is one.
Okay, somebody is asking, what inspired the idea behind going into Tall Tale? How do you come up with, how do you strike right balance between fantasy? Okay, so what inspired me? I think that the inspiration would have been speaking, trying to grow in speech delivery. That's what inspired me. And then, of course, we were also encouraged in our club then, ASO Rockstars, to come out and speak. And so some of us did that. And when I had to start thinking about what to speak about or how to construct my speech, it gave me a tough time. But I started looking up stories. And then just one day I was walking on the street and a name like Dandy Lolo just dropped in my mind. And of course, I now started thinking about the fairy tales that we hear about. Fairy tales that we hear, because if you watch, tall tales are similar to fairy tales. So I thought about fairy tales, and then this idea dropped. But I think what made the difference for me with that speech was that I took up the form of the image I created in the story, the image of someone who lost a right leg. Someone who lost a right leg that got a walking stick in exchange for the right leg, because the title of the speech was "In Exchange for a Walking Stick." I exchanged my right leg for the walking stick. So that was what I think helped the speech. That's why I said, show and don't tell. Show, don't tell. So that's I think that's one. And then how do you come up with unbelievable stories that will captivate the audience? Here's where thinking comes in. Here's where looking at stories, and in fact, sometimes things that happen around you would even inspire your speech and make you come up with unbelievable stories. Things around you. And remember that whatever you are saying, you're multiplying it by 100. Your reactions, you're multiplying it by 100. You're exaggerating it. So whatever you're able to create, by exaggerating it, it will become unbelievable. So that is just the idea, that you exaggerate it. The example we made here with coming from Lagos to Abuja in 30 seconds, that's exaggerated. You cannot come from Lagos to Abuja in 30 seconds. And then, how do you strike the right balance between fantasy and believability? So, the fantasy is there. Your believability is the way you say it, your vocal variety, your voice, the way you use your voice, the way you even step out, the way you step out. For instance, if you say somebody is crippled and you come in a crippled way, you make somebody to believe that you're crippled, right? But then it's not you being crippled. That's the fantasy part. But because you have done it, it shows that this person looks like a cripple. That's how to strike the balance. I hope I answered you.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Dr. Jack, for your response. So, DTM Paul, before we move.
So does a tall tale have to sound like it is out of the storybook?
Okay.
Or you can use a real life story? Yes, you can use a real life story and exaggerate it. That's how you make it your own.
So, thank you very much, Toastmaster DTM Paul.
Toastmaster, that's well done. Well done. Thank you for bringing us back to, I define tall tale as a FABU speaking skill in Toastmaster. But most especially, they define it as telling a coherent story despite the absurdity. Now, the question I want to ask, somebody just equally posted it on the platform. Will it lead to creating a call to action? Are there moral lessons to be learned from a tall story? Or just a story that all fabulous?
Yes, there's a moral lesson. There's a moral lesson. Okay, so my story, I think the moral lesson in it is that I didn't have to read, I didn't have to go reading through it because of time. But the moral story in this was that whatever you have to do, okay, so I ended by saying, and she handed me the walking stick in exchange for my right leg and said, go. The idea will come. Because I said I had to go into the brawl with her because I wanted a tall tale idea. And then she was able to ensure that I have the tall tale idea, and then she lets me go. And that was how I got to the stage to speak that day. And now that always remember that you've got to fight and give something for what you want in life. That was the lesson from that story, that you have to fight to give something for what you want in life. So at every point in time, at the end of the story, you should have a lesson that someone can take home.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you, sir.
So we'll take the question. We'll take the questions.
Someone asked the difference between humor and tall tale. Okay, so in humor, you are deliberate about what you're saying to make somebody laugh. You're deliberate that, oh, this speech I'm coming to make. And so you wear something, maybe a funny hat. And tall tales, even if you have the funny hat on, you don't have to come and tell. Just use the hat to story you're telling, and not to make me to want to laugh. In tall tales, to make somebody show speech is that this thing I want to say, it is to ensure that somebody laughs. What helps a tall tale to make people laugh is exaggeration. In humorous speech, they are the deliberate words that you're going to use to make somebody laugh. Okay, yes, that's what we just said. It has a call to action. Because every speech, I think it's not so different from every other speech that you have to have a call to action or a lesson somebody. Okay, how do you recover if a joke doesn't land as expected? So here you're not trying to make a joke here. We feel you're not making a joke. You're trying to show that you are joking. That's why, if possible, just go with a straight face and don't try to joke at all. Concentrate on your exaggeration. It's like just for instance, when you're talking with someone and the person now tells you, okay, let's say the fish, let's use the fish as large as a ball here. If I come to you and say, hey, sorry, who asked this? Who asked this question? Please, what's your name? Okay, Jose. Does it? You're asking that how do you recover from a joke that doesn't land well? Okay, so I'm saying that let's say that I come to you and I say, Dozie, today I caught a fish as large as a bus. I didn't mean to make you laugh. Please. Would that be your reaction? It doesn't hear.
His BMW
Hello?
is there. His BMW is there. I see the BMW.
So somebody comes and tells you that. How would you react? You're already laughing, but you see, you didn't go to ensure. You didn't go with intention of making. But if you want to go with the intention of making the person laugh, you might go say, maybe look at you, look at how your head is dancing, and then go, Joe, kind of. That is deliberate. But in total, no, you will just look at it and say, hey, see the way it's laughing. You're not laughing. But in humor, because you want to add that, you could smile and the person will look at it and join you. But in total, you're not doing that. Not that you cannot infuse humor at all, but the idea is not to be that funny. It's not a comedian thing. Okay, the moment I can't tell. I can't tell you. I can't tell you because some people still remember that speech until when they see me, they call Daddy Lolo. Because even the name alone, that's how I was saying that. You have to be deliberate with your words. Even the name, Daddy Lolo, everybody remembers that. Because a point came and I came out and I was like, Daddy Lolo, come out. Because she was inside the house and because everybody was afraid of Daddy Lolo. And see me, a rat, going to fight a 12 feet massive human being. Somebody who, when she steps out, the earth shakes and trees will be moving like strong wind is blowing. A rat like this is going out to want to fight such a person. And then she goes out, she gives her a blow, but she still stood and gives her another blow again. And then she bends down and beats her leg. So you can imagine a huge human being and a small human down the leg of a giant, biting the giant, to the point that the giant now had to succumb to pleading with you to say, okay, I'll give you this, let me go, kind of. I'm just creating the scenario. So these little things will elicit the laughter without you trying to make the people to laugh.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Dr. Jack. Thank you very much. What an insightful and inspiring learning experience it has been. With this, it's my pleasure to invite one of our leaders, the Program Quality Director of District 130 and Personnel, Distinguished Toastmaster Stella George. Toastmaster Stella George, DTM ma'am. You have the virtual lecture, ma'am, for your remark.
Okay, Madam Moderator, that's what I wanted to ask. After all these professionals, after the professionals have delivered their, which speech do you want me to deliver now?
For your remark, ma'am.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Loud and clear.
Yes, so, deliver a fabulous story.
Did you listen to this evening? Wow, 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 wow. Fantastic, fantastic. Our evaluation champion, that was a master class. That was a master class. Tall Tale champion. Awesome. You can see that she's speaking from experience. And our chair, contest chair, he told us, he said this year we'll not go grief for anybody. He said it that he must equip us, and we will go, and in fact we will have to produce someone that will go to Paris, right? And I believe in early planning, right? Nothing comes by accident, nothing comes by chance. You have to plan. I think it was the evaluation champion that was telling us that he practices 4 hours, when he gets home. I mean, incredible. If you want something, you have to sacrifice for it. And that is what we are doing at District 130. I'm very happy that Distinguished Toastmaster Olu Joseph is our contest chair. I like his energy. I like that he's taking it very seriously. And our members are ready. I mean, how can we not go to Paris? We have to go there, right? So congratulations to everybody. Thank you, Madam Moderator. Thank you to our participants. District 130, as the #1 district in the world, we have to keep to excellence. Oh yeah, it's a big flex, please. Anywhere you go and somebody asks you, tell them, I'm a member of the district that is #1 in the whole world. So, I mean, and this is part of it. What we're doing now is part of it. We prepare, we plan ahead, we take our things very seriously. And I'm very glad and super delighted that contest chair is taking this role as serious as it ought to be. And I want to say thank you to everybody that's participated. And I know that some of you are going to be contestants, not just this first semester, second semester as well. Let's start from the club, put our best foot forward, and go take on the world. Let's go take on the world. Yes, we can take on the world. I mean, when they heard that we are #1, even the districts in the US, they are shocked. Smedley district. I mean, where the Rafsis Smedley came from, District 1, all of them, they were just watching, and we came and took it. So the same thing we're going to do in the speech contests. Somebody from this district is going to go all the way. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you very much, the PQD, District 130. Of course, we'll click the trophy come 2027. So next, please, let's appreciate our PQD. Let's show her love. District 130, let's show her love. Thank you. Thank you. So before we wrap up this online training session, I would like to call on the contest chair for District 130 in person of Toastmaster Oludaisi Joseph DTM to give his remark.
Thank you very much, our moderator. Please appreciate our PQD once again. If she had not given us this opportunity, we will just be somehow on our own, but she has given us that opportunity. The only thing I promise you that come next Friday, just as Toastmaster Emeka said, that the judges' decision matter a lot. We are bringing a former semi-finalist at the World Championship of Public Speaking to train us on the roles of chief judge, judges, and contest chair. Next Friday, this same time next Friday, a past champion who got to the semi-final in USA, I remember that year, 2018, she was in that group at the semi-final level. She's ready, she's already cooked, and she's going to share with us. If you find yourself as a chief judge, a judge, or contester, what are your roles? Please We are going to be sharing these flyers. Spread the flyer across all your clubs. Be there this time next Friday. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Moderator, thank you very much. You know, look at you now. You are doing great. Well done. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And good night.
It's Paul.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Paul, I hope you are
Please, for all the...
No, I was just joking.
Please.
I hope the Paul is contesting.
I've contested, though. I've contested already, Madam PKD. You're not aware of that. I contested and I won in Paris. You're not still there.
Don't tell. Indeed, you were in the class.
Yeah.
Indeed, you were in the class. So thank you very much for all the contestants and all the contestants. You I've posted the contest speech rule book for your consumption. Please check the chat box, and all the questions on the chat box will definitely be forwarded to the facilitators. I would like to thank the contest chair, District 130, for giving me the opportunity to serve as the moderator for this remarkable and valuable online training, total and evaluation. Thank you very much. So see you. Let's appreciate everyone on this call, especially our facilitators, Toastmaster Emeka, Toastmaster Dr. Jack, and all the leaders here present. Thank you for being with us from the beginning to end. See you next week, and thank you. Have a good night rest. Bye from me.
Toastmaster Dandilolo.